From never trying to do better to having beef with the team he played for, there are a ton of reasons why people hate Ben Simmons. Like honestly, he doesn't even try to get better. Now, I'm not saying that he's not a good player by any means. That would be a lie. But let's be honest, he has his fair share of weaknesses in the court, and this really rubs everyone the wrong way. It's just very frustrating to watch him make the same mistakes over and over again. Like the way he shoots the ball and his awful offense. Still don't believe me? Well, even his coach agrees with this.
Do you do grocery shopping in this quick trip home? As the foul goes against Memphis.
Coach Herb McGee talked about how whenever he was asked about training Simmons, the 26-year-old always seems uninterested. Ben is the type of guy who doesn't really want to improve, he added at the end of his statement. Not sure why he does this, because it's only going to help his career and him as a player. And not to mention, it's what everyone has been asking of him for a long, long time.
It's been a process. Just getting back out there and trying to find some rhythm, getting moving again. But it felt good.
Like even in one of the recent games he played for his new team, one of the recurring issues that fans had with him, and got to see in the game as well, was that instead of dunking the ball himself, he just passed it on, missing out on a golden opportunity. There's no reason behind this lack of interest in improving, except for one thing that people think might be happening.
Eubanks out of Troutdale, Oregon. Durant! Taking it hard to the hole.
The only time someone doesn't improve themselves, despite there being room for improvement, is when they don't see anything wrong with themselves. And boy, is that a high level of delusion. And talking about his mistakes, here's one of the most noticeable ones he makes. One of his biggest weaknesses is the way he shoots the ball. First up, it's obvious that he lacks confidence in his shoots. Even his previous coach agrees with that. And secondly, he shoots with his left hand.
No. Irving, great look. Simmons, the flush in transition.
According to player J.J. Redick, his shooting would be much better if he did it with his right hand. And we get it, you're fast, athletic, and all of that. But man, this is basketball. If you can't even shoot the ball right, what are you doing? And not to remind you that he's one of the top 10 worst shooters in the NBA, with an average of 56% during his rookie season, with 5 to 6 attempts per game.
They're going to ride with it. Consistency matters. Nice lead. This time Dinwiddie sets up Ben Simmons with the line.
And again, it's not like this issue or weakness can't be fixed. It's just that he shows absolutely no interest in solving it, which really makes fans of the sport fume. All he needs to do is just practice a bit, focus on shooting the ball right, and he'd be good to go. But again, he's not interested in that at all. But that's not the only reason. Wait till you hear this next one. He never really worked as hard as he could have.
I'm glad I got it done. It was much needed. I don't think people really realized where I was at. That day I was supposed to play game 4, I woke up on the floor, couldn't move, could barely walk.
You guys remember how we all expected so much from him when he was first drafted in 2016? Because he was the talk back then about how well he played. Maybe it's just that we all expected too much from him. But ask Ben himself and he'll disagree. He thinks he's doing the best. But reality check, Ben, you're not. Now that's sure to get you a bunch of hate from fans all across the world. Won't you agree?
I think we're just not. We got to be accountable on the defensive end, and we're not. Guys that come in here and put up career highs.
And that just leads me to the next reason why he's hated by so many people, players included. And this one will explain both of the previous ones too. After all, he's shown a lack of interest in the sport itself. Okay, I don't have concrete proof to back this one up, but the way that Ben acts, this is the only thing I've been led to believe. I mean, can you blame me? He literally doesn't act like he loves the sport.
They're able to operate in the post and get to the basket.
Simmons entering the post, wheels around, and he hits. How about that?
Because if he did, it would show in the way he goes about everything. Look at some of the biggest players in the NBA, and you'll notice the clear difference between their behaviors and Ben's behavior when it comes to basketball. If Ben really cared about basketball all that much as his fans say he does, he'd listen to what fans have to say and take the good to apply to his practice and get better. But no, even if I ignore his repetitive mistakes and lack of interest in making them better, I can't move past the fact that because of his behavior, his whole whole team suffered. So obviously, I'm going to think he just doesn't give a damn about the game.
But us collectively, we got to understand that and play a certain way with pace, movement, and got to play team basketball because I feel like when we're playing team basketball, it's hard for anybody to stop us.
If you disagree with all of what I just said, well, I have another reason as to why people hate him. His entitlement. Ugh. There's nothing that gets on my nerves more than someone who acts so entitled. Despite being pointed out where he's wrong, he acts like he's the best and decides to ignore all that is wrong with his game. I mean, even if you're not willing to work on them to improve your game, at least admit the fact that you're not all that. But no, Ben never acknowledges all the mess-ups he makes in games and acts like his game is flawless. Not only does this leave fans super angry, but it also puts the whole team in a tough position.
Simmons. Euros and lays it in. Ben Simmons, that was dazzling.
Like, dude, you're not playing on your own. Stop acting so entitled and give your 100% every time you're on the court instead of expecting your teammates to save the team every time. We got to see this every time in games when he played for the 76ers, and even if the other players didn't say anything, it was pretty obvious that they didn't like what Simmons was doing. It was unfair to the whole Philadelphia 76ers team. When Ben just acts like he's the best, that his teammates are always responsible for helping him win. No, Ben, they're not responsible for making you win. You, along with your teammates, are responsible for making the whole team win. Get it straight.
Lead of the night. KD, backdoor floater, alley-oop, Claxton again.
This just takes me to the next reason in this video about why players hate him. And you know I'm going to start talking about the whole drama with the 76ers. Simmons made his previous team hate him. Now, unless you live under a rock, you know the whole drama that went between the player and the 76ers. How he got mad because there were talks about him being traded. And then things just started going downhill.
So that's something I've been, dealing with. And it wasn't about the fans or coaches or comments made by anybody. It was just a personal thing for me.
With him withdrawing from the Olympics and missing the team's media day. Not to mention his performance was getting worse because of the newly born feud between him and his team. This was before he was ultimately finally traded for James Harden and Paul Millsap, but the feud never really ended. It was talked about everywhere, and apparently Ben was the one who talked about their beef a lot. But I, along with a lot of other sports fans, don't think he had any right to be angry in this situation. And man, you were traded. Trades happen all the time, and that too only happened when you got on their nerves to the point where they just couldn't take it anymore. And honestly, I don't think anyone can blame them for that. First up, man, there's something called loyalty to your previous team. Just because you're not part of the team anymore doesn't mean you can't just say whatever you want about them. Remember how I talked about how Ben Simmons just expects his teammates to do most of the work while he does a mediocre job on the court? Well, it's all connected to this. They got tired of him continuously doing this and decided the best way to solve the issue was to trade him. And that was all about why so many players hate Ben Simmons.